It is one.
And we are back live from the Peak Health and Wellness Center in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. My name is Dave Vincent, alongside broadcast partner and best friend of all time, David Fink. Dave, it's nice to have you in the booth here as we get ready for this semifinals.
Right. 0 serves 0.
For those of you wondering, yes, we did make up after a rough night last night.
Had a little, I would say, a dry spell when it came to the relationship, but you and I are friends again, oddly enough.
We're watching two former All-American quarterbacks in here, Dave. One, a Division I All-American quarterback that went on to play for the Arizona Cardinals and the Denver Broncos. The other, Dave, in the far court, Andy, the Minnesota Dreamboat Nett. That's right, he was an All-American quarterback at Winona State. That's in Minnesota, Division II. The Dreamboat, Dave, known as the hardest hitter in American handball.
Half out.
That was Dan Armijo right in the camera shot there, taking that ball with his left hand.
Dan Armijo, a marvel, Dave, in the sports world, 48 years old, still competing at the pro level, Dave. Nearly made the quarterfinals here at this Helluva Handball Bash Pro Stop. Came up just a couple points short there
side out
last night. Dan, the Hand, as he's known, is partnering with the host here and the great football star Jake Plummer.
And Dave, if Jake and Dan Armijo make the finals, that means it's going to be a all-Plummer finals, because Eric and his partner, actually, I apologize, Eric Plummer actually lost with his partner Fergal Collins, so it will not be an all-Plummer. I thought it was the other way around.
So we can strike that.
Let's act like I didn't say that. Let's go back a couple minutes. 0 serve 0. It was Chip Morales and Freddie Schoner going to the finals of this Pro-Am.
Point.
It's a nice shot there from Dan the Hand.
2 serve 0.
Scores
Andy Nett, Dave, teaming with Missoula, Montana's Sky Peters.
Hold up.
Sky's a young man who attends
Replay 2 serve 0.
University of Montana. Sky, Dave, one of the great examples of the Dave Chapman School of Handball. He's attended several camps, Dave. I know you've been at a couple of those as well. We've seen the progression of young Sky from a young hopeful to a real promising player.
It's a point.
Strange whiff there from the Dreamboat.
3 serve 0.
No call there from brother Eric, who's the referee. Kind of some strange play in there. This is the semifinals of the Pro-Am.
We hear you say so much, Dave, that this is the best event of the year at each event that you attend, but this one actually is probably the best event of the year, and you don't hear me say that.
It's funny that I didn't really say it yet, and it actually is the best event of the year.
I actually thought it would mean something if I said it.
Yeah,
our listeners have heard you say it so often.
0 serves 3.
I decided not to say it anymore. It's good that I held out on the actual best event for that.
Point.
Great shot there from Andy. Andy
serve
losing
3.
on this court just a couple hours ago, Dave, in the comeback of Natti Alvarado Jr. Andy taking that first game 21-20 and scoring only 5 points in the next 2 games, losing 21-2, 21-3. Apparently, Natti knocking off some rust in between that first and second game.
Look at that shot from Andy. He actually makes it. Dan Armijo gets it back, but does not make it to the front wall. That was a nice shot from the Dreamboat, Andy Nett, from Winona, Minnesota.
I dreamed I hit that shot, and the Dreamboat executed that shot. We just watched it.
Point.
Natti Alvarado told me after a singles match that Andy's serve really surprised him in that first game. He said it was unbelievable.
4 serve 3.
I think that's one of the reasons why you saw that matchup. Not saying that there's any type of fix put on here on the seating.
You're saying that you don't go by the rankings, you just sort of throw in there whoever you think will be an entertaining
I'm just thinking
match.
that's why we saw it is because of fate.
3.
Oh, fate.
Because it was
fate
intervened on that.
Okay.
Half out.
Nice kill there from Jake. Jake's down about 30 pounds from his playing weight. Retired about 4 years ago.
5 serves 3.
He was listed
3 walls.
with the Denver Broncos as 212 pounds, but
Second
we all
serve.
know he's about 180 something. He said he'd love to play quarterback at this weight right now. He said he just feels more agile. Now
That's a great 2-all pass there from the Dreamboat. Pushes Dan back and earns the point.
we haven't talked
6
a lot
serves
about
3.
Chris Ballard, senior writer from Sports Illustrated, who is on the site.
No.
And he has been interviewing everybody. I mean, he really has pages and pages of quotes and interviews, and he said
Second
that
serve.
the great Fred Lewis took him into a backcourt and gave him a lesson for a few minutes. He said between games
Point.
and during warm-ups, he showed him how to play handball, and he said it was just so fun. And he didn't even know that Fred Lewis was even a former national
7
champion.
serves 3.
I said that's the difference between handball and a lot of other sports.
We're very
2
fortunate
serves.
this week, Dave, to have Chris Ballard here.
7 serves 3.
He's really soaking everything in. In fact, Dave, he watched my match last night and also earlier this morning and noticed
Short.
what I did better this morning. Has the eye for it.
Second serve.
Chris planning on doing a 10 to 15 page feature about handball, Dave, in an upcoming Sports Illustrated. Very exciting times for our sport.
Skip. Side out. 3 serves 7.
Scores 3-7. Dan and Jake lost the first game in their first round match to a couple young guys from the Great Northwest. They came back and won the second game and the tiebreaker. They're trailing early here in this first game. It's kind of a pro-am format, Dave.
Half
We've got
out.
Andy Nett, a top 15 pro player, teaming up with Sky Peters, who's a promising
3 serves
youngster,
7.
and Dan Armijo, the hand, with 30-plus years of pro handball experience, teaming up with Jake Plummer. Dave, I know you've played in a lot of events like that, a lot of pro-ams. Really a lot of fun for the players and also the great galleries that we have here, taking all this in.
Point.
If you can get the players to be like the matchup that we had in the last game, or the last
4 serves
match that
7.
we had here at the show court, then the fans absolutely love it, where you have competent AMs alongside the pros. Chip Morales and his partner Fred Schoner put on a show, but then so did Fergal Collins and Eric Plummer. I mean, it was such a great match. Could have been
I didn't know Fred Schoner was a pro.
No, I'm saying the amateur of Fred.
Side out.
Well, Chip, he was playing with Chip, though, right? You said it's
I'm
a
sorry,
pro-am.
you're right.
Okay.
Got me on that.
Little
7
slow
serves
on the
4.
uptake.
Sorry. And almost
Half
made it to
out.
the front wall from Andy.
That's one of those sort of strange bounces, Dave, that players are adjusting to. We're playing with the red fireball here. It plays a little bit differently. I
7
know
serves
that
4.
the size and the weight are exactly the same as the blue ball that we're used to, but it does spin a little bit differently
Point.
off the side walls. Ball
8
seems to
serves
slow
4.
down just a little bit. I think it has something to do with the die that they use in the ball, Dave. Ball also hops a lot more. For those of you maybe checking out handball for the
Side
first
out.
time, watching Jake Plummer, a hop, Dave, means you're actually spinning the ball. You can spin
4
the ball
serves 8.
left or right depending on the wrist action that you use.
Or you can do that, hit 7 walls.
That's legal, as long as it hits that front wall at some point. Sky
Half
Peters
out.
buries that ball in the right corner from about 35 feet.
Sky
4
Peters
serves
from
8.
Montana. Skyler actually is his name. Playing alongside Andy Nett. There's Jake Plummer right in our camera view, trying to go between the legs right in
Side
front
out.
of the camera, but he didn't get it.
That's the problem with going between the legs.
8
When you
serves
miss
4.
it, it really looks bad. Here's a big setup for the Dreamboat.
Has a lot of power, doesn't he?
Replay.
We really saw Andy come into his own in the
8
outdoor
serves
season
4.
this summer, Dave, making the semifinals in the Kansas City 3-wall pro stop and also the quarterfinals at the 3-wall nationals and at the World 3-wall championships in Las Vegas.
Look at that athletic play from Andy Nett. He almost gets the ball right there. You know, we
Foul.
would have saw Andy Nett make this resurgence maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but he's been really, you know, a little preoccupied with
8
his
serves
football and
4.
his basketball at Winona State. And as he graduated, he then started focusing on handball more, which was never really a main focus of his. And now we're starting to see Andy, you know, move into that next tier for him.
He's developing that confidence, that sense of belief and belonging with the top players that will come when you have some big wins. Even though it was outdoors.
8 serves 4.
Score is 8-4. It's a good serve from Skylar. Dan Armijo, camera view. Nice shot from Dan Armijo with the left hand.
Dan's one of the great backwall specialists in the history of this sport.
4 serves 8.
A lot like the microwave, Dave. When he gets in his groove off the back wall, there's not much he can do about it.
Did you say the microwave or the microwave?
I said the microwave. The microwave is watching from Southern California, the desert.
Point.
We'll see him next week, Dave, at the Simple Green U.S. Open. He'll
5
be our
serves 8.
head referee, which is exciting.
Half out.
You see Jeremy Sport Fitness on Andy Nett's
5
shirt there.
serves
He's
8.
sponsored by that athletic facility back in Minnesota.
I'm sure they're enjoying watching their top pro player here. Andy tells me that's a beautiful facility there that he trains out of.
8 serves 5.
Score is 8-5.
Short ball. You know,
You can
2 serves.
He actually can overturn that if he wants to, but it wouldn't matter because he
I have
called.
a little blind spot there. 2 serves, 8 serves 5.
Jake Plummer, the defending champion, Dave, in this Pro-Am doubles at the Helluva Handball Bash last year, teamed with Luis Moreno.
Last year was a little different. There was more just of pro influence. The elite pros played, but since we have the U.S. Open next week, some of the top pros like yourself and Luis Moreno and Dave Chapman electing not to play
Point.
doubles. And that has led to guys like Andy
9
Nett,
serves
Chip
5.
Morales, and Abraham Montijo electing to play doubles. Nice get right there from Jake Plummer. There's
Hold
a
up.
screen by the hands of Andy Nett in front of Dan Armijo.
Replay 9 serves 5.
9-5 is the serve now, Andy Nett.
On paper, Dave, you'd really favor the team of Armijo and Plummer. Jake's a very competent right side
10
player, and
serves
Dan's
5.
a very experienced veteran. So far, it's been mostly
Point.
the dreamboat and the promising one.
11 serves 5.
There's a great
Point.
serve from Andy. Jake can't handle it. That ball squelches off the right side wall.
12 serves 5.
Score is 12-5.
Normally, Dave, we have our
Half
statistician, Gene Casamoto, Kastner, just recently
12
married,
serves 5.
working the radar gun for us. This week, Dave, we have Sandpoint's Jim Slavin with the radar gun.
Wow. Slaving away at
Skip.
that
Well
radar
done.
gun.
Excellent pun.
5 serves 12.
Pun was not intended there. It
Oh,
was a non-intended pun.
I think it was, though.
It actually was a but actually intended pun.
Okay.
You think I'm joking?
That's
Half out.
something Jake struggles with, Dave, is facing the front
5
wall and
serves
swing.
12.
You see Jake frequently swing with his shoulders facing the front wall, needs to figure out a way to turn sideways and
Side
uncoil
out.
his body through the shot. Loses a lot of power, very similar to throwing a
12
football.
serves 5.
Wouldn't want to throw that football facing the receiver. You
2
actually
serves.
turn sideways just a little bit to create that shoulder turn and extra
12
velocity
serves
and
5.
control. There's a good serve there
Point.
from from Andy. Looks like Jake's rushing it just a little bit, Dave. Not used to seeing the ball move that quickly down the right wall. Although his brother Eric, Dave, who's reffing right now, hits an incredibly hard ball. Hits the ball extremely well. He's very athletic. Jake plays with him, and they spar together quite a bit. Jake very proud of his brother, Eric. In fact, Eric played extremely well yesterday, Dave, in his opening round singles match. Sort of carried the flag for the Sandpoint guys.
Had a lot of people ask why Jake is playing with Dan Armijo, and this is a true story. Jake Plummer actually had Dan Armijo listed at one point as one of his heroes in all of sports. He also had Jimmy Slavin, who you were talking about earlier, listed. You would think that he'd have maybe a Johnny Unitas or Joe Montana or some quarterback in football, but no, Jake actually named some of his favorite all-time handball players on his profile, his bio with the professional football teams that he played for in Arizona and Denver.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is he said, I've always wanted to play with Dan Armijo, and so he gave him a call, and Dan said, of course, said, yes, I want to play with you as a doubles player. That's how they teamed up here.
What's funny, Dave, is you see so many little kids awestruck by Jake Plummer, really unable to speak because of they've seen him so much on TV. That's exactly how you see Jake act around Dan Armijo. He's really in awe of the guy.
We saw Jake. This is, we'll wait till this rally is over. Here's Jake taking that with his left hand off the back wall. Skylar Peters, Jake's going to dive back in, almost gets it.
Side out.
Jake did something interesting. It was in a match yesterday, Dan Armijo was playing, and Jake came over and was giving him Gatorade. And he was massaging his back during the match. You go, wow, Jake Plummer's walking in there, and, the guy that he's idolizing, he has a chance to actually talk to in between games. And, it's a treat for Jake as much as it is for us as well. And I'm sure Dan Armijo likes it equally. I don't even know if Dan Armijo knows he's here right now, to be honest.
That's debatable. Dave, talking with Jake about the seating of this event, he actually had Dan Armijo seated 2 or 3 in the pro here. Actually made a case for it that he'd been around for 30 years, and that was exactly the counterpoint. Yes, he has been around for 30 years. That's why he's not seated second or third.
What was interesting about that, 13-5 is the score. Interesting about that philosophy was that the fact that Jake said, doesn't he deserve it? He's been playing for 30 years. He deserves to have a top seed. He's one of my favorites.
That'd be like saying Favre doesn't even have to play the season. He can just start in the divisional playoffs with a home game.
That's like saying that Favre doesn't have to show up at spring training. He can just play the first game and take the team to the championship game.
That's like saying Favre doesn't have to send pictures of himself naked to women to try and get it. Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry. Got carried away.
I'll have you continue that later, actually.
Tied up.
There's an unforced error from Sky Peters. He's made very few. He's ended a couple of rallies with kills in that right corner.
5 serves 14.
You heard the score there, 5-14. Oh, that ball just sort of slowed up. Must have been a reverse.
Looked like he came under that ball. That would be a natural. It fooled Sky. That was a reverse.
Point.
Andy misses about the easiest shot you can get in the game.
7 serves 14.
That's Dan's bread and butter. He puts it in the floor.
Half out.
Came up about 14 inches short there.
7 serves 14. 3.
Jake going for a Z serve there. A Z serve, Dave, hitting the front wall, right sidewall, and coming back into that right corner.
Side out.
We call that a Z because it sort of traces the letter Z in the flight of the ball.
7.
Here's Andy Nett. And that's just an incredible serve. That ball registering at 83 miles per hour, Dave, straight down that right side wall. Jake Plummer unable to handle it. Jake takes a little bit off that ball and goes for the crack. That ball just 72 miles per hour.
Skip.
Looked like Sky might get lucky there, Dave.
15 serves 7.
Tried to paddle that ball from about 28 feet and came up short.
Point.
Those are so tough. You have to play that ball in that right corner. Now, you can't see it on the
16
live
serve
webcast here,
7.
but Jake got fooled in the back right corner because he thought the ball was going to hit the sidewall first. Or actually, he thought he was going to hit the back wall first, hit the sidewall instead. Nice dive right there from Skylar Peters. Where did that come from?
Great anticipation. He saw Dan line up into that left corner, and he made his move before Dan struck that ball. Great play.
I did just hear the score of 17-7.
That's true. It's very difficult, Dave, to get blown out in Pro-Am doubles, but that's exactly what we have so far. Sky's a little bit steadier right now, Dave, on that right side than Jake. That's a 3-wall kill. It's not something you teach, but when you have the power of the Dreamboat, Dave, you can carry that third wall.
18 serve 7. This is the men's semifinals of the Pro-Am. Winner goes to the finals. There's 2 games to 21, tiebreaker to 11. And there's a kill shot from Dan the Hand Armijo.
Side out.
Been on the Pro Tour for almost 30 years. I think we're on our 29th year right now.
7 serves 18.
7 serves 18.
We have a women's pro semifinal singles coming on next, Dave.
Half out.
Courtney Pichotte will challenge Tucson's Ashley Moeller.
So I think we found out what our schedule is. We're going to have a women's pro semifinals match coming up on this court after this, and then it's going to be either you and Dave Chapman or Nate Alvarado and Luis Moreno.
Actually, it will be Dave Chapman and myself after the women, followed by Nate Alvarado.
So Nate's going to be here until midnight.
8 serves 18.
As will we.
He'll like that. Was that long?
Yes, it was.
Was it long? Okay, it looked like it kind of... I couldn't tell if it's short. Second serve, or hold up. Second serve.
Look at that athletic get right there from Jake Plummer.
A great kill there from Andy. That's one of the best shots I've seen the Dreamboat hit. Let that ball drop and hit it about 2 inches high.
18 serves 8.
You heard the score there. It's 18-8. Jake Plummer and Dan Armijo are late bloomers. Yesterday they did the same thing. They lost bad in the first game, came back and ended up winning in a tiebreaker.
18 serves 8.
Andy, actually known as the Andy Roddick of handball. He's got the great serve.
3 walls.
Wins a lot of points on that free serve. Sky now a second serve, goes with a high 2-wall serve. And
that's the point.
Inexplicably, Dave, that ball hits Dan Armijo in the foot. That ball was moving 12 miles per hour off the side wall, and Dan gets out of the way of that one.
You have that on tape, right?
Great wheels there from the former Division II quarterback.
And he gets that ball back, and the crowd loves to hear that. Dan Armijo, though, does what he does best. Back wall kill shot.
Dan Armijo held that finish for the crowd.
They would have called him back wall kill Dan, but it just didn't
19.
rhyme, so they called him Dan the Hand.
And Dan actually didn't learn how to kill the ball until he was 41, so he picked up the nickname the Hand well before that.
9 serves 19.
Actually told me that killing the ball is fascist.
Watch this shot there.
And Dan looks to be finding his swing right now, Dave. Nice smooth stroke on those last two. Somebody please tell Chip Morales to put a shirt on.
Point.
Guess you can say off the wagon.
11 serves 19.
11 serving 19 here. Dan Armijo has put together a really nice run here. Might be too little too late, but they do have 2 servers. Dan scoring the last 4 points 19. With beautiful 2-inch high kill shots. And here's a huge setup. Dan should take care of this without much of a problem, and he doesn't.
Look at that get from Andy Nett, though, with the offhand. That was a nice get right there, was it not?
Excellent.
Junior?
13 serves 19.
Dan with the awareness to expect that fly kill. There's a big setup. It's both hard to believe, but and he doesn't put that away. Jake makes a great get to keep this point alive, and now we're back to neutral. Andy cranks that ball at 87 miles per hour, Dave. Looked like he might go back to the ceiling, but he actually drives that ball right at Dan Armijo's feet. Dan with no answer.
Hold up, replay.
That was a neat little change of pace from Dan Armijo. I haven't seen him really do that shot before.
He has that opportunity quite a bit. Doesn't use that slow paddle kill that we see a lot of older pro players using.
13 serves 19. Side out.
Dan Armijo gets himself pinned on that left side wall. I'm surprised he's playing the right.
19 serves 13.
When his partner serves.
Look at that get. There's a lot of really good, kind of raw athletes in here, if you think about
Half
it. Dave.
Well, it's a good combination of raw athletes
19 serves 13.
As well as some guys that really utilize all of their athletic ability in there, made themselves into great handball players. Very low percentage shot there from Dan. You rarely see Dan go for a low percentage shot, particularly at such a crucial moment in the game.
Serves 13.
That gives the Dreamboat and Sky game point. That's a Z serve into that right corner. Jake fights it off and nearly kills it.
Side out.
Now another 2 serves for Dan Armijo and Jake Plummer.
13 serves 20.
13 to 20. There's a back wall set up for the hand. Backhanded fist punch from Andy Nett.
Skip, half out.
We've seen Andy use that shot in crucial moments, including at 10-10 to qualify, Dave, at the Fireball Classic in April. Kept a point alive, actually rolled a ball out to win a match with that very shot.
Point.
You let that one go to the back wall, Dave? Or do you take that? You had everybody pinned off to the right. So
20.
I wouldn't have tried to kill that ball. I would have sent that ball back up top. Hit a hard 3-wall pinch. Too hard to shoot that ball with the angle it's traveling. This guy loves to use that fist. Puts that ball right on the left wall.
Side out.
It's a play I think Andy should use a lot more, Dave. It's just driving that ball with all of his power 3 to 4 feet high off the front wall and putting it right at his opponent's feet.
Half out.
Jake with a nice back wall kill there.
20 serves 14.
Takes that return of serve and just buries it. He went for it again, and that time skipped it. So the first game goes to the Minnesota Dreamboat, Andy Nett and partner Sky Peters. Dan Armijo and Jake Plummer will try and regroup here, Dave, and see if they can make the necessary changes for game 2.
Score there, the first game was 21 to 14. About the necessary changes, what will Jake and his partner Dan Armijo, what are they going to have to do to beat Skylar Peters and Andy Nett, Dave?
Well, we saw Dan end a few points there with some great kills. They've had a number of opportunities, just have not been able to put the ball down, as we say. Left a lot of their kill shot opportunities up for Sky and Andy to re-kill and dig, keep the points alive. Jake will have to find a way to return that serve a little bit better, Dave, on that right side. Andy's blasting those bullets straight down that right side wall, and Jake's misplayed 8 of those serves. That really was the difference in that game. Dan and Jake unable to score any aces in that first game. You see that 8-point differential, 8 points coming on 8 ace serves from Andy Nett.
You see a picture there on the live webcast. That's Chris Ballard with the Nike shirt. Chris is the senior writer from Sports Illustrated. He is watching the action, taking notes, and interviewing players and fans here for the Jake Plummer Helluva Handball Bash Part 3. And this time he's including the family. He said, you know, I've been thinking about this for the last couple of years. My mom, my dad, my wife, and my new baby, plus my brother and my sister-in-law, and all the family come out here and they serve food. They do the entry at the front desk, and they have so much great hospitality, putting the pro players up at their cabin. They've been doing this for the last couple of years. He said, you know, let's change the name. It's now the Plummer Family Helluva Handball Bash Part 3. And he said, you know, let's make this less about me and more about them, because they're doing all the hard work. I'm the one just having fun. And now the new addition of Rock and Roll Out Roland, who's now 4 months old, the new addition to Jake Plummer's family. Him and his wife, Colette, gave birth to a rockin' baby boy who's absolutely beautiful, wonderful, very, full of energy. And he's a happy kid, unlike yourself, Dave.
Never have been.
Actually is smiling and giggling and is cute. And so he's here, too, also celebrating the family Helluva Handball Bash. We're in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Panhandle. This is the most populated city up here in the Panhandle, about 2 hours away from Canada. We are in the Pacific time zone right now. If you just head down just a little bit, or head up just a little bit, you're into mountain time, which is kind of interesting. But that's just head up a couple miles and you're in a different time zone, even though you're in the same state. We're here, though, in the Panhandle at Jake Plummer's Helluva Handball Bash. In fact, that's Jake right there in our camera shot. You can see he's not losing any hair. He's got a full head of hair.
Shirts that have my name on it.
Jake Plummer's father, Steve, is also here. He's a multiple state champion in Idaho, Dave, and Steve and his mom, Marilyn, have collected all of this Jake Plummer memorabilia from when he played with Arizona and when he played with Denver Broncos. And now when Jake's older, he has a kid, and he looks back and said, man, I wish I would have kept some of my stuff that, they gave out, they used to have onesies, for example, for little babies that had Plummer's name on it. And he goes, now I have a baby, I'd love to have have that onesie. But he said that to his mom. He goes, no, I still kept some. And so he's, pulling out. So luckily for Jake, he has a great support cast. The family kept a lot of the memorabilia. Jake doesn't like to wear stuff that has his name on the back. But here he is saying that his parents have kept a whole bunch of stuff, and now he's starting to use it here in the game of handball. Jake Plummer wearing the Wonder Bread shirt. That's who Jake is. Good guy, good for the sport, ambassador, and he loves to play handball. We're at the Peak Health and Wellness in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho for game number 2 coming up at the men's semifinals. Winner goes to play Chip Morales and his partner Fred Schoner from Spokane, Washington tomorrow for these games. Coming up after this one, we're going to have a women's semifinals clash, and then we're going to get into the men's semifinals of the pro divisions. This is the Plummer Family Helluva Handball Bash Part 3 and WPH Echelon Fireball Classic alongside my best friend and mentor, some would say life coach, David Fink. My name is Dave Vincent.
If so, I'm not doing a great job.
Not so much, but we're trying.
After about a 14-minute break there between games, Dave, we're still looking for our referee.